They hated him because he was based. You see, Joe Biden really has no reason to, like, continue doing a good job as president. Like, legitimately, think about it. Guy got ousted by his own party, where they forced him out of the position of nominee after he won the primary as the incumbent, because the Dem Party decided he didn't have a good enough chance to win. They put someone else, his VP, in his place with no primary or election or democratic process to decide it, and then proceeded to lose running that candidate. And now Biden is looking forward to a very I told you so filled retirement, I'm sure. All of this after years of progressive media, mainstream and alternate, just running this guy through the fucking meat grinder non-stop. And very little, if any, attention given to the admittedly not exactly clickbaity, money-making content that is discussing what Biden's administration has been up to over the course of the last 4 years. And despite the fact that Biden has really no reason to continue to try and impress us with his policy or things he does while in office, he has been on a rapid dash to try and solidify some of his best policies, particularly those pertaining to climate change, before he leaves office. And now he has made a move to open things up for Ukraine to make some serious progress against Russia before Trump takes office. You see, despite the fact that Russia and Ukraine have been pretty much at all-out war for years now, there have been bars and yellow caution tape holding Ukraine back from taking certain actions that could be a massive benefit to their efforts. Notably, towards the start of the war, the entire Russian fleet, basically, like almost the entire Russian Navy fleet, was in this like bay or harbor off the coast of Crimea or Ukraine, and Ukraine had everything it needed to just like wipe the fleet off of the face of the earth. Like genuinely just demolish their fleet. But because the US, notably Biden, had not given the go-ahead for an escalation of force that serious from Ukraine, it wasn't allowed to be done. And Russia still maintains much of its fleet, despite the fact that Ukraine could have easily took them out if they had not specifically held back. And so now, on his way out, Biden has just authorized Ukraine to use long-range weapons in their war. This is something they couldn't do. They couldn't use their long-range weapons to take out Russia's fleet at the start of the war. Something they could have done that would... The war might be over by now had they been able to do that. They haven't been able to hit power stations and infrastructure that the Russians control and use to transport troops. There are roads and bridges and all forms of infrastructure that Russia is using, because you got to consider these are urban environments that they're invading, to get their troop movements around. There are rivers that like cannot be crossed within reasonable time or in large numbers without a bridge. Now Ukraine can long distance strike a bridge used to transport, notably, North Korean troops. The North Korean military is now backing up Putin. Putin has them in Russia right now training and preparing. Apparently they're not exactly up to snuff, so it's probably going to be a while, and Ukrainian military and soldiers are, maybe they're bluffing, but they seem honest when they say it, not worried about the North Korean soldiers. They say that like the North Korean soldiers are like 5 of them make up 1 Russian soldier. I think I saw that quote. So they're really not worried about that backup that the Russians are receiving. But this is still a big, big deal and a massive W from Biden, especially since now he has no reason to hold back Ukraine out of fear that Americans will frame him as a warmonger. Absolutely fucking based Biden. Let's see what the deal is here.
President Joe Biden reversing a long-standing U.S. policy involving the war in Ukraine. Biden now going to allow Ukrainian forces to use long-range U.S. weapons inside of Russia for the very first time. CNN's Kevin Liptak is traveling with the president in Brazil. Kevin, what more are you learning?
Yeah, this is a major change in American policy, and it comes at a critical point in the war in Ukraine as Russian forces mass in the city and around the city of Kursk as they prepare for an offensive there, and as North Korea has sent thousands.
All right, Ukraine, Zelensky, I know you're watching my stream right now. Here's what you got to do, Zelensky. You're going to want to call in about 5,500 kilogram bombs on the highest concentration of Russians, okay? Russian soldiers. This is generally a good strategy that you can employ in a game called Helldivers 2. You see a big cluster of bad guys, and then you type up, left, right, down, 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 and then you drop hell on them. Or I think it's left, right, down, 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 if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, just left, right, down, down, down on them, Zelensky.
Of its troops to fight alongside Russia in that conflict. President Biden making this...
No. Ukraine, do not rush B. Do not rush B, Ukraine. The Russians do that. Guard B with your entire squad. Send all 5 squad members to hold B. The Russians always rush B. What does rush B mean? You're not enough of a gamer to know, War Penguin. I'm sorry, I can't. It's from CS, okay? It's from Counter-Strike.
Decision to allow Ukraine to fire the American ATACMS missiles inside Russia for the first time. And this had been the subject of a long-running debate inside the American government about the wisdom of allowing Ukraine this new capability. There were officials who were concerned about the risk of escalation in this war. That's something that President Biden has been concerned about throughout the conflict. You also heard officials worry about the stockpiles of ATACMS. These are not resources in endless supply. At the end of the day, the addition of the North Korean troops to this conflict certainly has created a new sense of concern in Washington about where this war could be headed. It's a subject of conversation that President Biden has had throughout his trip this week in South America.
It's so sad that the American people have become so brainwashed by populist brain rot that war is always bad. The fact is, it's just not true. The more that I learn about politics, and I know that sounds crazy because my job has been politics for so long, but like, you've never learned everything. You never will. And so I'm constantly learning new things. And the more that I learn, the more I come to realize, like, man, there's certainly been cases where the U.S. has had some shitty wars that should never have happened, but there are also a lot of cases where historically we look back at the U.S. getting involved in conflict, and it's like, not only was it the right thing to do, but had we not, or had we withdrawn before things were concluded, it would have been objectively a mark on our history. You know, imagine a world where the U.S. never got involved in World War II, right? But I'm talking even more recent, right? Look back at Trump's presidency when he pulled out of Syria, dropping support and protection for the Kurds who had been, like, helping the U.S. Soldiers in Syria for quite some time. They were helping fight terrorist groups and, like, regimes that were hostile to America, and they were being genocided, culturally and literally. And Trump pulled U.S. troops out of Syria and left them there to fucking die. Like, that position, outside of the left, pulling troops out of Syria was popular. It was. Because the American people are so brain-rotted that war or any troops on the ground overseas is bad, that, like, Harris had to go on stage during her campaign and, like, plead to the American people to understand her that there are no U.S. troops in combat overseas right now. And it's like, because the American people are so dead set on ensuring there's not a single U.S. boot on the ground in combat overseas that, like, you'll lose an election on the idea that you want to get involved with or start a war. It's like, and this leads to, in modern day, the U.S. and even good leaders are too scared to drop their full support behind world leaders that are in genuinely, like, the genuine good guys in a conflict, right? Like, Biden has been so afraid of tanking his ability to win the election for so much of his presidency by giving Ukraine, more freedom and support to fight against Russia because it might be seen as a move towards war. Now it's like, now I don't give a shit. I don't got to worry about getting reelected. Here you go, Zelensky. Have 12 nukes.
He discussed it earlier in Lima, Peru, with the leaders of Japan and South Korea. He also discussed it yesterday with the Chinese President Xi Jinping, trying to apply pressure on Beijing, to apply pressure on its largest, or on North Korea, which is China's largest trading partner, to try and convince Kim Jong-un that this was a mistake and that it could put his own troops at risk. But now this decision, I think, certainly for American officials, they do hope that it could help turn the tide in this conflict, but also send a signal to countries like North Korea that it sends its troops into this war at their own peril. Frederica.
All right, Kevin Liptak, let us know when you know more. Thank you so much.
Biden should have been aggressive day one with Ukraine. Here's the thing about that. Have you guys noticed this, like, dichotomy where everyone is blaming the Dems for not, like, using the right messaging or campaigning well enough to win the election? I've seen people blame Biden for being at fault for not stepping down sooner despite winning the primary. I've seen Harris blamed for not having the correct messaging. And it's just like, everyone's trying to divert blame away from the people who did not come out and vote. I've seen comments in my comment section, particularly on my videos criticizing Hassan and Sam Seder, arguing that if these politicians want our votes, they have to earn it. It's not the voters' faults they didn't win. A genuine argument made by actual Hassan and Sam Seder fans. I generally like Sam Seder, but man, did bro spend a lot of time railing on Biden, and now he's like full on like anti-Biden. It's just giga cringe, dude. It feels so desperate for the validation of the popular bandwagon on the left. Like, you can call me cringe or dumb or bad for backing Biden and like backing the Dems, backing Harris, even when there are things about them that are not fully in concordance with like left-wing beliefs and ideals. But like, you can't criticize me for being inconsistent. You can't criticize me for being unpragmatic. You can't criticize me for like being you can't call me a grifter for it, because I lose subs and support when I push for supporting these candidates. This is just what I believe in, and I'll take people thinking it's an L. I'll take the tax on the chin for people thinking it's an L for me to back the Dems over Trump, even if it's like at times overly charitable. Yeah, I'll take all the people giving me shit for it.
Joining me right now.
The Xanderhall stream every day. A music fan, I stream almost every day. My stream schedule, or my general schedule is I upload 3 times a day, every single day. Clips taken from my streams. And then I stream 2 days in a row, and then I take 1 day off, and then another 2 days in a row, and then a day off, 2 days in a row, a day off. So that's how my schedule for streams goes. So like, obviously I'm streaming today, I'll be streaming tomorrow, but then Tuesday, I'll be taking off. I'll stream Wednesday, Thursday, take off. Well, actually, I'll probably shift my schedule around a little bit. I might, like, stream on Wednesday and then take Thursday off and then stream on Friday, because I need to stream on Fridays for the watch party. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just keep the schedule going and I won't stream before watch party. It might not be necessary to stream before watch party. Okay, thanks. I'm new. That's why I asked. Yeah, no problem, a music fan. That's why I explained it. I figured you might be. Also, it's nice that people watching this video get to hear what my stream schedule is. Yeah, I stream 2 days in a row, day off, 2 days in a row. So 2/3 of any day that you could pull out of a bowl, I am streaming. So there's a pretty high chance, if you're watching this segment at any given time, that I will be streaming that day.
CNN military analyst Colonel Cedric Layton. Colonel, great to see you. So first off, explain what these missiles are all about, this Army Tactical Missile System, or sometimes referred to as ATACMS. Talk to me about what they are, their capability, and why this is a potential turning point.
Yeah, Frederica, the MGM-140A TACMS, as you mentioned, the Army Tactical Missile System, has a range of around 180 to 190 miles. And what it can do is it can attack things like ammunition depots, troop concentrations, logistical centers, all of those kinds of things that could resupply a front line. So
basically, it makes things explode. It makes a big fucking boom. You launch it from a long distance, then it hits something, and it fucking destroys it. That's what this bomb does. And now the Ukrainians are going to be launching a lot of them from very far away at Russian positions, and it's going to be very funny. And I will be on r/combat footage watching it all go down, like I have been for the last 2 years. Oh my god. If you guys aren't on r/combat footage watching like the Ukrainian GoPro footage, I saw a dude ace the other day. Like straight up, bro got a 5-man frag with his AR. Ukrainian soldier in the fucking trenches. It was some of the. It looked like something out of fucking Battlefield 1. It looked like Battlefield 10 gameplay. Frankly, it was wild, dude. It was fucking crazy. My favorite video to this day is still the Civdiv video where the volunteer fighter that's fighting with the Ukrainians, who's not even Ukrainian. He's a American, I think, volunteering. He ends up throwing a frag grenade into this like brick building. Because they hear Russians inside, and so they throw the frag grenade in, and it goes off, and they hear Russians screaming, and they go in and they clear the building. Turns out this random like 24-year-old American dude who volunteered with the Ukrainian army fragged an entire squad of Spetsnaz. There was an entire Spetsnaz squad held up in that room, and fully caught on video, he just yeets that little frag grenade in there. Boom. Loud Russian screams. Entire Spetsnaz squad disabled. And do you want to know what the guy yelled after the grenade, after the screams? Do you want to know what the guy recording said? Fucking retards. After fragging a squad of Spetsnaz, he simply says, fucking retards, and then chambers around in his AR. Sorry, it's M4. Oh my god, is it one of the best videos I've ever seen.
The purpose of this is, from the Biden administration standpoint, is to actually make it possible for the Ukrainians to prevent the Russians and the North Koreans from attacking the...
What's a Spetsnaz? Special Forces Russian soldiers. Very, like, high rank. Like, it's a little bit like, I don't think, Spetsnaz isn't, like, equivalent to Navy SEALs, is it? Spetsnaz is like, oh, they are Russian Navy SEALs? Okay, yeah. Basically Russian Navy SEAls. Basically the Russian equivalent. Not quite, but basically. So yeah. That, like, random, like, 20-year-old dude just fragged an entire squad of basically the Russian equivalent of Marines. Spetsnaz is like saying Special Forces. Doesn't tell you much. Yeah, that basically took out some high-level enemies with some cheese tactics, you know? All you have to do is be able to outthink. You just play a little bit of Tarkov, you know, a well-placed grenade or a Molotov can take out an entire enemy team when you have absolutely no realistic chance of winning in a one-on-one fight. Watching people kill each other, sad face. Listen, okay? Listen, all right? Have you ever watched a TV show or a movie that contains murder? Come on. It is an interesting thing, and watching Ukrainians defend their country by fragging out invading forces, it's like a little bit of karma, okay? Maybe I'm a little fucked up, but I consider a little bit karmically just, okay?
Ukrainian concentration.
Murder is not based, and it's also not murder. Killing in war is not murder. You realize that Russia is invading Ukraine, right? Like, those soldiers were fighting dudes that were there to... You guys realize that, like, weeks before that video came out, the Bucha Street Massacre happened. Who here remembers the Bucha Street Massacre? There was a street in Ukraine called Bucha. And it's just a nice little neighborhood, nice little, like, residential area. One day, satellite images just shows the street empty. Then, overnight, the Russian occupiers move through the town. The next morning, it is just lines of bodies, men, women, children, laying in the street, hands tied behind their backs, gunshots through the back of their heads. In the night, when the Russians rolled through, they dragged the families out, tied them up, lined them up in the street, and murdered all of them via bullets to the head, and left their bodies to rot in the street. We only know this due to the satellite footage that came out the day after Russia took the town. They killed the women, the children, and the like men, the husbands and everything. They killed all these families, and they're just laying out there in the street. One guy got life in prison for it. Yeah, it's some disturbing stuff. And that's not the only thing. I saw a video of a Russian tank rolling over a car that had a mother and toddler in it. They both survived, thankfully, because tanks, as heavy as they are, it didn't flatten the car like a pancake. It just kind of like caved down the hood of like the canopy of the car down to the point of like where the doors, the windows kind of like begin. And so like she and her baby got down and they were okay. But like the fact that a Russian tank just chose to roll over the minivan in the first place is insane. I'm sorry, I'm getting really caught up because I've actually followed this war for quite some time. I did a lot of coverage of it, especially for the first year. And I remember a lot of the stuff that came out, and it pisses me off. I'm really upset that so much of the online left, frankly, defends Russia or makes excuses or does that like soft cuck defense where they're not willing to outright defend it, but they'll like imply that Ukraine is just as culpable morally in all this as Russia. Hassan does that shit. It's real cringe stuff. You did great coverage like Dylan for months straight and got shit for it. I don't think my coverage came anywhere near Dylan's, okay? Dylan is out there risking his life and has been shelled by Russians multiple times, and then Russian state media proceeded to lie and claim that the group that Dylan was a part of, that they shelled, was actually an armed attack team, when in reality they were an unarmed journalist and volunteer team helping pets out of a flooded town. Like, Dylan is actually, like, getting shot at and bombed at. And there's a video, and I had Dylan on stream to talk about this. It's genuinely terrifying, and salute to Dylan for being so fucking base, dude. Like, he is brave as fuck to still be over there. He nearly died. Like, straight up, like, really nearly died. He and a group of people, including a British journalist, were walking alongside this building along a street, and they were very close to where bombs were dropping. And then a bomb hit so close that the British journalist right next to Dylan got blasted with shrapnel and debris to the point where he was bleeding out critically. Dylan managed to take cover and did not get hit by anything, but the guy right next to him got fucked up bad and is lucky to be alive. They had to med evac him, emergency, give him blood, like straight up like save his life level of injury. And Dylan was just lucky to be right on the other side of like a little corner, so that like when the bomb hit in the street, it didn't, the shrapnel and all of the rubble and everything didn't like splash onto him, it splashed onto the other journalist. But Dylan was so lucky to get out of that mostly unharmed. It like, and that is not the only time Dylan has been shelled. So I appreciate the comparison, but good God, is Dylan doing far more for the people of Ukraine and coverage of this war than I am. I'm here cozy in my house in America, about as far away from this war as you can possibly be. Dylan is there getting shot at, okay? He's cooking, all right? Dylan is the GOAT.
In Kursk, which is the territory of Russia that Ukraine has occupied since August. So these missiles are designed to go in and to take out those kinds of things like those logistics installations that I described. And they're designed to do this in a very efficient, very lethal manner. And it's one of the most lethal weapons that the U.S. has in its arsenal. And if the Ukrainians can use it the same way.
The only reason the British journalist Dylan was with didn't die is because his hip bone caught the shrapnel and shielded his organs. Yeah, it's pretty awful. Highly recommend you share it and repost it, because Dylan, like, at least he said to me, he documents these war crimes committed by Russia so that they cannot memory hole it, cover it up, or deny it. So the fact that it's that hard to find, you should probably tell him, because he might not know that the video is like gone now off the internet. Like, you can't find it. So yeah, definitely, if you're watching this video, let him know about that, because he might be interested in that fact, that the video has been suppressed into complete obscurity.
Installations that are supplying the war effort against you in Ukraine or in Kursk in this particular instance. So the idea would be, Frederica, that they would go in and they would give them a list of targets that they can hit. The Ukrainians would perhaps provide a list of targets that they would like to hit, and then they would say, yes, you can use these weapons to hit those targets, or no, you can't hit those targets. One thing that would definitely be off the list would be nuclear installations or anything that would affect the strategic warfighting capability of Russia. That would most likely be off the list at this point in time.
And then how much of this is also in response to North Korean troops being in Russia and potentially assisting in this war in Ukraine?
A lot of it has to do with the fact that the North Koreans are in Russia doing this and providing support to the Russians and probably joining them in a military sense. So what the Biden administration is signaling is that that kind of addition to the Russian war machine is unacceptable to us. We don't want foreign troops coming into Russia, supporting the Russian war effort, and the North Koreans are the first.
I think it's totally fair as well. If Russia's going to pick up allies to help them invade an allied nation, then I think it's totally fair that we put, at the very least, more or less restrictions around what Ukraine can do with the support we've already given them, right? Like, we've already given them so many weapons and you know, a decent amount of money. So it's like, why are we holding them back? Like, it's just a waste of money if we just keep flooding them with, like, support they can't use to a full effect. Like, I don't know if you guys know, but it has been like an ongoing issue that Ukraine has had so many opportunities to cripple Russian supply lines for like years now, like to cripple their entire fleet, to destroy their supply lines, to shatter the infrastructure they need to advance. And they haven't been allowed to do it or to strike within Russian claimed territory because Biden doesn't want to escalate things. He doesn't want to take, he didn't want to take like the heat of it. Now there's no worry about that. So things about to get crazy. They're about to heat up and probably lean a lot more in favor of Ukraine.
Wants to do this overtly, at least, and the signal to the North Koreans as well as the Chinese is not to support the Russian war effort, at least not that overtly.
What are the potential repercussions if North Korean troops are also taken out along with Russian troops, even though the targets, as you said, would be logistical targets? Consequently, there might be also personnel might be involved or taken out. What would be the potential consequences here?
The potential consequences could be somewhat far-reaching. It's possible that the North Koreans could react against South Korea, for example, or against U.S. troops in South Korea. So this is definitely a possibility that I'm sure the Biden administration has considered, and I would suspect that they have also increased their defensive capabilities in South Korea as a result of this decision. So that's the kind of thing that could happen. It's also true that the Russians will probably try to respond one way or another. They may not do so in a direct way, one that we would notice right away. It could be a cyber attack, it could be sabotage. Those are the kinds of things that we could expect Russia to do. But we would hope that they would not escalate to a point of no return. This is the kind of thing that the Biden administration has sought to avoid until now, when it's become pretty clear that the Ukrainians are having difficulty not only.
I know people can be edgy about things without necessarily being happy about it, but it was just really weird to me being like, "Hey guys, have you seen have you seen the video absolutely annihilating 5 dudes?" Like, dude. It is on the r/combat footage subreddit, one of the biggest subreddits there is. So for one, if you're acting like this is unusual, then I have news for you. On top of that, they're literally Russian special forces invading and murdering citizens and civilians as they like attempt to conquer the land of Ukraine to turn it into a satellite state for their oligarch. They're there occupying a building. A soldier frags them out because it's war. Something that, like, and we're really rooting for the Ukrainians here, right? A single Ukraine volunteer soldier taking out a squad of Spetsnaz is absolutely worth being, like, based. Fucking based. Ride the Rails linked the video I'm talking about, by the way.
In Kursk, but also on the Eastern Front in the Donbass region.
President Biden is on his way to the G20 summit. What might be the reaction coming from world leaders on this move?
Well, I think it would depend on.
Wait, is Evil Rhoda saying I'm against, like, Russian citizens? What? What is Evil Rhoda saying in chat? They're not posting cringe, are they? Where's their last message? Where's their last message? I don't know if you meant to reply to me, but no Russian was a mission in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 where you went through an airport and shot at civilians. He absolutely meant civilians. Are you referring to me? Did I make a joke about the Ukrainian soldiers saying no Russian and you're upset about that? No, I misread? Okay. Yeah, to be clear, by the way, that would surprise me if there was an impression that I was, like, hateful towards the civilians of Russia, because I've been pretty, I don't know, I think loud-spoken about the fact that Russia is a lot like America. There are normal, good people there, like Nafuckers, for example, who are very much upset to see their neighbors flying those Z flags all over the place, right? It's just a country where the, like, population, a lot of it has been radicalized by government propaganda. A lot of it has not fallen for it and doesn't have a lot of the rights to protest. They aren't in control of what their government does. So why would I blame them? I've got Russian fans. Like, I've had, like, Russian people in my chat be like, yeah, I live in Russia. I am watching this stream from Russia, and I am pro-Ukraine, and I like your content. So I would be surprised. Yeah.
On which world leader you're talking to. Certainly, China would not be enthusiastic about this. The Russians are not enthusiastic about it for obvious reasons. But the Western European nations, the Koreans, the Japanese, they are probably quite okay with this. And certainly the Ukrainians are very happy that this has finally happened for them. They've been waiting for this kind of approval for a very long time, really since the start of the latest invasion back in February of 2022, and that is something that they have sought for a long time because they believe, and I think rightly, that the ability to hit targets deep inside Russia is essential for them to be successful in their ability to not only keep Ukraine independent, but also to prosecute, obviously, their war effort.
True! Very true. Yeah, basically, Biden's so fucking based for this. I'm curious what the comments are like. Bro said he's going all out before he leaves. That's why Biden was smiling when he met Trump in those pictures. He was like, oh boy, am I going to ruin your first day in office. This is going to be the longest 2 months until the inauguration. We just going to ignore that UK and France have also authorized their long-range weapons, such as Storm Shadows, to be used in Russia as well. It's not just the US, SMH. Good. When the renters destroy the apartment before eviction day. Dude, like, people, the comments are mad. The comments are genuinely so upset about this. He's attempting to force an uncontrollable scenario between Putin and Trump. Oh, yeah, it's gonna blame because the war isn't going to end under Trump like he promised. So now it's all the copium, like, it's Biden's fault that Trump couldn't end the war. Trump, I can end the Ukraine war in a day. Biden, hold my ice cream cone. Dude, the copium, they're already building up the copium about, like, preparing for the criticism that Trump's gonna get for being unable to end the war like he's promised. Why don't they say what this actually means is a direct declaration of war? No, it's not. They're going to do all the damage they can before January 20th, 2025. Biden uncaps a grenade, lobs it to Trump. Here you go, buddy. Good luck. Wait, nobody else is having a problem with the phrase Biden authorizes? People who have no issue with the USA supplying missiles to Israel have no right to be upset about this? True. Based comment. Certainly I don't see Russia having to seek permission to use North Korean, Turkish, Iranian, and for sure they have Chinese and other missiles. Why does this feel like an ad for Lockheed Martin? Biden, I'll be dead soon anyways, so, like, whatever. North Korea, I love this, like, the brain rot that the American people have. They will literally completely stand by and watch as an oligarchical, like, authoritarian conquers an allied nation, all because they are convinced, by the Republicans, mind you, that any form of support for the people being invaded is like, oh my god, he's trying to sabotage Trump before he gets into office. Oh, this is going to be the longest wait for Trump to be in power ever. Ah. Man, I'm so glad they're already coping about the fact that they already admit that Trump isn't going to be able to stop the war in Ukraine like he promised. They're already ceding the ground that Trump cannot do a lot of the good things he promised them when he was running. but they're already building up the cope. Like the excuses for why it's actually Biden's fault. Amazing. Genuinely amazing. Anyway, if you enjoyed this segment, please consider leaving a like. It really does help a lot, as does commenting. Every single video and stream, in fact, that you leave a like and comment on, it actually forces YouTube to push my content in the algorithm and get it in the eyes of more viewers. And trust me, if you want to epically own the right, the way to do that is to make sure that progressive content that you enjoy, not just mine, mind you, but all the progressive content you enjoy, is getting as much support from you as you can possibly muster. And that does not require donations or financial contributions. Just hit the like button. Subscribe, comment. It really does help a lot. And of course, if you want to see more from me, you can follow my social medias, linked down below in the description. Follow me on Blue Sky, by the way, because I become far more active on Blue Sky. I've started using it as my main, not Twitter social media. And, of course, you should also consider joining my fan Discord, which is also... excuse me. I don't know why, but it's every time I'm doing the outro is when I have to burp. Have you guys ever noticed that? Like, without fail? Anyway, if you guys want to, of course, be a more close part of the community, you can join my fan Discord, which is totally free to join. There is a link to join through the link in the description, and on top of that, I host once a week on Fridays gaming events, call-in streams, or watch parties. So if you really want to be a part of the community, make sure you join my Discord server. And of course, finally, if you want to support me directly, financially, help me keep the lights on and a roof above my head here at the Xander Hall studio, then please consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or support me financially through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or even buying merch to the Streamlabs link down below in the description. Regardless of how you support me, though, thank you so much for watching, and as always, I hope to see you again.